This is the current way I designed my terrain map as of April 17, 2008. Move my microphone. And this is what my game looks like, as I have it anyway. This is the terrain map, or the terrain as I have it displayed. You might notice the boxing type rectangle effect. The reason for this is because if I add the cap, the frame rate really goes down. It's because of an apparent weakness with alpha blend, the current function I use. This here marks the water level, of which in this particular area is not intended to be visible. You might be familiar with the debug panel, and the usual, made a few changes. This is draws per frame without debug panel, in case you're wondering. Exposition, this is for the landscape generation values. The position in coordinate units, that position in miles, the height in feet. Base height is based on the point at the very end of this particular terrain map pixel. Slope angle, the slope, 0 degrees, flat, basically. This is where I left off at, almost 100,000 pixels. You might notice that I've got commas now inserted into the numbers. My overall completion, where I left off at in the miles, and the movement is the same way. Just use the left and right arrow keys, and I got jitter to get rid of. There we go. The jitter is because I don't use VSync, and I don't know how to add it yet. So you might be wondering, what's the difference between the height and the base height? Well, the cursor, this little black square, marks where the terrain, where I'm currently at. This is that position, because if I move a little bit, you can see its slight adjustments. Most notable with the 3D behaving ground, in the background anyway. And this is based at the end, which is right here. Off over here, you might be wondering what this is. This is to mark where I left off. As cursor put that there, and you can tell 3,000,000, almost 240,000. 90 miles is the total. So let's just go follow the terrain, so I can show you just what I do behind the scenes to make the terrain map. Well, you might be wondering about these here. These are fake clouds. Fake for one reason. I don't have the actual clouds done yet. They're just here so I know where the cloud level is, so I can mimic my visions. Here's Twin Peak in the terrain. You might recall that from before. Here's Mount Mebna. You might be wondering, 3,000 miles an hour. They can really get going fast. But as soon as I let go of the arrow key, I abruptly stop, instantly. It's part of the basic plan I have for the creation. It makes it so much easier to work with. Mount Sky. Maybe. Yep, that was Mount Aza. Here's Cloud Mountain. And here's the lakes. You might notice that it flickers a lot. That's because of an effect I've added. Let me show you, just to give you an idea what I mean. I was just past Stugu Abyss. Here's the Lake Stugu. Of course, the deeper I get, naturally, the darker things will appear. Of course, high up you don't really notice it, because there's less water or light filtering going on. So here's the bottom here, almost 300 feet below. Pretty dark. But, up at the top here, get this cursor going, it gets brighter and brighter. The rock texture here is not actually supposed to be there for lakes. Rather, it's kind of a bluish type color, or whatever the actual lake water is. And basically, this well, miles short, but this is about where I've left off. Gives you new meaning to rolling hills. And this is where I left off. You can tell because it's all flattened all the way across. That's to let me know that I left off there. And as you can tell, this is where I'm at for the miles, and this is where I'm at where I left off at. You'll notice that there's a slight difference. The actual position shifts, but this one doesn't. So what do I do to build the terrain? Well, I made it simple. Use the up and down arrow keys to change the slope of the terrain, and I use the left and right arrow keys to move the cursor. This here is the cursor, just to let you know. What's this line here, this faintly visible line? That's the horizon indicator. It's to let me know where the horizon is. What use does it have? Well, note the height is about 19 here. This is 19 feet relative to the terrain. You can tell by looking at that these seem to be about 30 feet high for the taller ones. This one here seems to be about 23 or so, 24, somewhere in there. But that's basically its main intent. But when you're playing challenges, it has other uses. Sorry about that, microphone decided to go down thanks to gravity. So, this is all I basically do. And for faster processing, I use the enter key to duplicate the current slope. Out to a certain point, that is. Here's a little steeper one. Missed. Dot. Change plans. See, that's all there is to it, huh? But, as a little shortcut, instead of having to manually set each one of these to zeros, in which they're actually not, just note the left off base position. Okay, see where I'm at? Okay, I'm going to push the down arrow key. It changed by 2. That's because I've done 2 at once. Over here, now I should have 3. Do a little more. And there's 5. That's just the general idea and method I use for doing so. Just a few rolling hills, and that's basically all there is. Not much to it, huh? Got a few problems to iron out, such as figuring out how to get beyond 3600 draws per frame. Much of this right now is because of these clouds, adding close to about 500. The actual images won't be anywhere near as much. But, then again, had a mind drift there. I hate that. In the 2.4 version, there's some function used with Game Studio, the program I use to make it with. It seems to be getting close to 1 million draws per frame, or at least that's what not 1 million draws per frame, but per second, which converts to about 30 plus thousand. Just some really tremendous number, well beyond the 3600. It's 200 times faster, put it that way. But, in this corner, in the actual game, you'll be seeing a little mini-map. But I don't have that for one reason. I haven't figured out a way to reliably add it with reasonable speed. Again, it's the drawing rate. So, as a different method, I press the 7. For a different method, I just press the 7 key and wait about 6 seconds. I switch to MS Paint, go File, select the file. This is the 1 to 150 zoom, and this is where I left off. If you've seen the other video, you'll probably be familiar with the overall design, where I left off and how the slope looks. But that's all there is to it. Not much, huh? This video and the game are created by Ulillillia. Thank you for watching.